78 The teachings of the Lord of the Second Coming. Section 3 The periods in the age of the Providence of Restoration and their lengths. The age of the Providence of Restoration, which was the age of image parallels, was to restore through indemnity. The age of the Providence to lay the foundation for restoration, the age of symbolic parallels. Let us investigate the periods in this age, and how their lengths were determined. 3.1 The 400-year period of slavery in Egypt. Noah laid the foundation of faith, after fulfilling the 40 days of the flood judgment for the purpose of separating Satan. When this foundation was shattered due to Ham's mistake, God tried to raise up Abraham to the same position as Noah, by commanding him to make a symbolic offering while standing upon the foundation, which had been laid through the intervening period of 400 years. However, due to Abraham's mistake, this foundation was defiled by Satan. To recover this foundation of 400 years, God had the Israelites undergo 400 years of slavery in Egypt 11, and separate Satan once more. The period of slavery in Egypt was the image parallel to the period of 1600 years, from Adam to Noah in the age of symbolic parallels. It was to restore that earlier period, through parallel indemnity conditions. 3.2 The 400-year period of the Judges. It is recorded that King Solomon began to build the temple 480 years after the exodus from Egypt, in the 4th year of his reign. 12 Since King Solomon's reign followed the 40-year reign of King Saul 13, and the 40-year reign of King David, we can deduce that there was a period of approximately 400 years from the time the Israelites entered Canaan until the enthronement of King Saul. This was the period of the Judges. The Israelites under Moses were to secure the foundation of having separated Satan through their slavery in Egypt, thus restoring on the national level the foundation upon which Abraham had stood, the foundation of having separated Satan laid during the 400 years from Noah to Abraham. However, after they entered Canaan under the leadership of Joshua, Moses' successor, they again turned faithless, allowing Satan to again defile this foundation of 400 years. The Israelites needed to undergo another period for the separation of Satan before they could restore this foundation through indemnity. The period of the Judges, which ran approximately 400 years, from the time the people entered Canaan until the enthronement of King Saul, was set up for this purpose. The period of the Judges was the image parallel to the period of the 400 years, from Noah to Abraham in the age of symbolic parallels. It was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. 3.3 The 120-year period of the United Kingdom. The age of the Providence of Restoration was set up to restore through indemnity. The age of the Providence to lay the foundation for restoration. Therefore, Abraham, who commenced this providential age, was in the position of Adam. Moses was in the position of Noah, and King Saul was in the position of Abraham. Abraham was a transitional figure. He was responsible both to consummate the age of the Providence, to lay the foundation for restoration, and to begin the age of the Providence of Restoration. Abraham was called to lay the family foundation for the Messiah. As the basis for the national foundation for the Messiah, God had to lay the family foundation for the Messiah without fail in Abraham's day, because it was his third attempt. Likewise, in King Saul's day, God was working to establish the national foundation for the Messiah for the third time. Hence, God again had to accomplish this providence without fail. Due to his mistake in his symbolic offering, Abraham did not restore all at once the conditions inherited from Noah's course, in the form of the various numerical periods necessary to restore the foundation of faith, specifically 120 years, 40 days, 21 days and 40 days. Therefore, the horizontal restoration of these periods had to be extended vertically. They became successive indemnity periods of 120 years, 40 years, 21 years and 40 years in the generations of Abraham's family. King Saul was to restore Abraham's position on the national level. By building the temple, King Saul should have restored in a short time all the indemnity conditions, in the form of numerical indemnity periods, which had been set up to restore the foundation of faith in Moses' time. These included 120 years, the 3 40-year courses in Moses' life, 40 days. The period of Moses' fasts, 21 days. The first national course to restore Canaan, and 40 years. The wilderness course in the national course to restore Canaan. Nevertheless, King Saul was disobedient 14, and failed to fulfill God's will. As in Abraham's time, the horizontal restoration of these indemnity periods had to be extended vertically into successive periods. The 120 years of the United Kingdom, the 400 years of the divided kingdoms of North and South, the 210 years of Israel's exile and return, and the 400 years of preparation for the advent of the Messiah. After all these periods, the people of Israel were finally ready to receive the Messiah. The period of the United Kingdom was to restore the 120 years of Moses' life, during which he made 3 attempts to lay the foundation of faith for the national course to restore Canaan. Let us examine this parallel more closely. After the Israelites had endured 400 years of slavery to separate Satan, Moses laid the foundation of faith through his 40 years in the Pharaoh's palace. He then tried to lead the people into the land of Canaan, where he was to build the temple. However, due to the people's faithlessness, this course was prolonged twice. Moses had to lay the foundation of faith anew through the 40-year course in the wilderness of Midian, and again through the 40-year course of wandering in the wilderness. Likewise, Saul was enthroned as the king of Israel after the Israelites had restored the 400 years of slavery in Egypt. Through the 400-year period of the Judges, during the 40 years of his reign, King Saul was to lay the foundation of faith by restoring through indemnity Moses' 40 years of life in the Pharaoh's palace. He was then to build the temple. Yet when King Saul became faithless, God's will to build the temple was prolonged through the 2 40-year reigns of King David and King Solomon, thus constituting a total of 120 years for the period of the United Kingdom. This period was the image parallel to the period of 120 years. In the age of symbolic parallels, from the time Abraham left Haran until Jacob purchased the birthright from his brother, it was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions, just as the dispensation which began with Abraham was fulfilled after its prolongation through Isaac and Jacob. God's dispensation to build the temple, which began with King Saul, was extended to King David and King Solomon before it was finally fulfilled.